No one had any curiosity in my family who did this to Danny. It wasn't a subject for discussion. Those are now the chilling and infamous words of Rob Adelson, the estranged son and brother in the Adelson family. He testified for the first time in any of these trials. And man, inside the courtroom at the end of the day today, when people watched him and listened to him and heard him say that phrase, that quote that I just read aloud, that no one had any curiosity in my family who did this to Danny. It was not a subject for discussion. It was a stunning moment, and that is not an overstatement. It was a bombshell moment that is not a news cliche, but appropriate in this instance. So what a crazy day. And prior to that, we had Wendi Adelson testifying. So today, saw it all.
Welcome to the global phenomenon, Surviving the Survivor. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning journalist, Joel Waldman.
What's up, STS Nation? Welcome to Surviving the Survivor. This is the show that brings you the very best guests in all of true crime, and we're going to break down all of the day's testimony right now, leading us out of the pack here. Former Florida State Attorney out of Palm Beach County, now private defense attorney, Dave Aronberg. He's also ubiquitous. You turn on your television set and you're going to see Dave Aronberg at some point. I can guarantee you that. He might even be playing in this year's U.S. Open. I don't know. Joe Patudo. She is the professor emerita, University of Nebraska Law School. She is taught everywhere. We're getting a little different background, which I love, Joe. Loving the dining room background, unless it's a green screen. Then I love it less, but I'm sure with you, it is real and authentic. And last, but certainly not least, you've got R, the letter R, Timothy Jansen, but also O-U-R, the famed Tallahassee criminal defense attorney, also a former federal prosecutor. Joe Patudo, I'm going to start with you. And I just have to say, before we get going here, Tim and Joe are just doing unbelievable work for us, and it's not going unnoticed. I've had people come up to me left and right, and they're like, the only reason we watch STS is because of Tim and Joe. If it was just you, we'd be watching somebody else. But because of Tim and Joe, we stick around, and I cannot thank them enough. And as you know, Joe started off as a member of STS Nation watching us, and I'm so happy she reached out to whoever she did that fateful day and has now become a great best guest. So, and of course, it goes without saying that Dave Aronberg, just to have him, if you have him on your screen, you know that you're something special, because only the best of the best have Dave. And Dave, are you in this year's U.S. Open? Yes or no? Did you qualify?
U.S. Open for what? For badminton?
Tennis. Yes.
No. And I want to apologize in advance to Joe. You see that I have my Basset Hound cookie jar behind me. I know how it feels about dogs.
That doesn't lick. The cookie jar doesn't lick. Professor, let me start with you. I think you're probably the most rational. I'm loopy. It was a long day again in court, but these words were uttered by Rob Adelson. No one had any curiosity in my family who did this to Danny. It wasn't a subject for discussion. Every juror's head immediately pivoted over to Donna Adelson, and literally jaws dropped. People, they could not believe what they were hearing. I think that is the death knell. I think that is the nail in the coffin. I don't want to sound hyperbolic, but watching it from your vantage point at home, what do you make of Rob's comment there, as well as Rob's testimony in general?
I thought it was powerful. We all wondered what it was he was going to be able to testify to, and now we know. And it was just, I don't have words for it. It was so powerful. I felt so sorry for him. It was so poignant to see him on the stand testifying against his mother. I am sure that he came across as credible and believable and really, agonizing over the fact that he was put in this position. He didn't try. I mean, his testimony was wonderful. He didn't try to exaggerate. He didn't overdo. He told what he knew. And I thought he had another line in there that just showed how mean-spirited Donna is. And that was the line about she was gleefully looking at how they could schedule the phone call to him to tell him that Wendi had moved out and had filed for divorce. And they had scheduled it so that he would get the phone call while he was on the podium waiting to address a conference at which he was one of the speakers. And I thought, I mean, that's a bookend. The one end saying she didn't want to talk about it, that which was chilling. The other end, which was gleefully trying to give him news that was going to really, at least at that point in his life, destroy his life, and trying to find a time when it would be most difficult for him to handle the phone call. I thought he was just wonderful. We thought Wendi was going to be the star today. She came in a distant second.
I agree 100%. To me, Wendi was a little bit of the same old, not quite as antagonistic, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I kind of feel like they've done what they're going to do with Wendi, and whatever comes next, there'll be another series of mic drop moments with her if something is to come next. But today, without a doubt, Rob Adelson stole the show. I got to just tell you a quick little background. So the day was dragging on. Wendi was kind of droning on. When Georgia and Sarah Catherine were up there was like such a cadence. It was like boom, 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 boom. And then when Jackie came up to cross Wendi, it just screeched to a halt. I was sitting with Abby Crossing, who's awesome and helping me out a ton in the courtroom. And she literally counted 2 full minutes. That's a very long time between questions. Jackie Fulford just seemed ill prepared, did not have the line of questioning down, and it took all the energy out of the room. And I could see the jurors were just like, there were bobbleheads just trying to, keep their heads up. And then Rob came in and everything switched back. Snap happy here. After the very powerful testimony of Robert, I'm convinced that Wendi will be charged and that her immunity will be revoked. I was heartbroken for Robert. I got to tell you. So this is the backstory. I went for full disclosure into the media room. The media room is like 931 degrees. And the minute you go in there, everyone's eyes just begin to flutter and shut. And I just was like, just trying to stay conscious. And shout out to Justin from Dateline. He said, Joel, I think we have Rob Adelson, but everyone goes through this door where I could see, and they brought Rob through a back door, the only witness to come in through a side door. And suddenly he's on the witness stand, and I just raced out. And Tim, man, first off, a lot of people were saying he looks like a spitting image of Donna. I thought to me, he looked a little bit like Charlie. But most strikingly, Tim, he just looked, I don't know. He looked so innocent. He looked like an injured bird. That's what he reminded me of. Like, you see like a sparrow on the side of the road that's helpless. That's what he reminded me of. It just, people were tearing up in the courtroom. It was very emotional. This is a guy that is estranged from his family. What was it like for you watching, Tim? And then I'll get to Dave, obviously.
I will tell you, I haven't seen a more credible witness than in a federal trial when a witness took the stand, looked at my client and said, I love you, brother, but I got to tell the truth. And he wasn't even asked a question yet. Rob did not want to be there. He didn't want to look at his mom. And when he told his story, his answers didn't flutter around. He wasn't hemming and hawing. He answered the question, yes or no. He was very thoughtful. He didn't exaggerate. And he knew what he was doing with hurting his mother. But like he said, what am I going to not talk to the FBI? They come to my office. Why wouldn't I talk to law enforcement? The jury had to find him credible. I mean, I thought he was I think he made Wendi not even important anymore in the trial.
That's interesting. And I agree with you. And Jared's comment here is amazing. Jared Ross, who, by the way, is traveling, and I'm bitter about it because we need Jared here. So get back, Jared. But there was such a noticeable dichotomy between Wendi's testimony and Rob's. One was full of denials and lies with very selective memory. One was full of emotion and absolute truth. And it's so true. I mean, Dave Arenberg when you're telling the truth, there's nothing to hide, right? And Rob's testimony was so truthful. And to answer Tim's, question or concern about this jury panel, this jury panel is like, they're like an engine in motion. They're all the parts are in sync with this jury. I feel like they're all on the same wavelength, following in very much the same way, completely locked in. Like I've said it on my X post that they seem like this is what you'd expect if you were going to switch over and hire professional jurors. That's what this jury feels like. But Dave, to you, this is the first time Rob Adelson has ever testified. And to Tim's point, no one knew what to expect, but he just got up there and basically talked about his mother in the most honest and innocent way. I mean, it had to be effective, I think.
It's devastating for the defense, because this guy, and I agree with Tim, has so much credibility. Yes, he's his parents' son, but he had different choices in life. Compare him to his brother, Charlie, who was the mama's boy, who was the maestro, who did what mother wanted and then some. And you compare him to Rob, who became estranged from the family, who married the person he wanted to marry, the woman he wanted to love. And he was up there as a pained individual. You can see it in his eyes. He had so much credibility without saying a word, just the way he presented himself.
Mm-hmm.
And you compare him to Charlie, who's a liar, who's addled by cocaine and steroids. And here's Rob, thin, who's just a family man who just tries to do the right thing. He's not driving around a Ferrari with Maestro on it. He's not dating shot girls. He's not planning murders. He's just living his life the way that you'd want someone to live. And you couldn't have a bigger difference between two sons. And Wendi, for her point, what Jared said is right. Wendi was obfuscating, was I don't remember. You didn't see that from Rob. Rob answered the questions. He didn't hem and haw. He didn't say he didn't remember. He didn't recall. Georgia didn't have to present him with tab 1, tab 2, tab 3 to refresh his recollection. This was such a powerful witness, way better than I thought he would be, and just shows that this trial is full of surprises. I mean, we thought we've seen this before with all these trials. This is what, trial 5, because Katie was on trial twice. Mm-hmm. And yet this trial has been full of so many surprises already, and it's just day 2.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. The pace is also super fast. I think we got up to witness number 11 with Officer Brannon at the end there. But James B. here, defense claiming how selfless Donna is backfiring. She's so selfless. She handled it for Wendi. They've got, Joe Patuto, let's go there for a moment. I want to get back to Rob, but in fairness to the defense, which I'm not always too fair to them, they have such little material to work with. And what Jackie, and particularly Jackie, because Josh hasn't had the same amount of quote unquote airtime, but Jackie just seems to be saying, well, it was anybody but Donna. It's an anybody but Donna defense. But Rob blew that out of the water. But is Jackie, in your opinion, doing a miserable job, or is it just because she has all these bad facts that she's got to work with?
I think it's a little of both.
Mm-hmm.
I thought in the opening to embrace Donna and say she's caring, lovable, the sweetest person on the face of the earth, in the face of the emails, and that's before Rob gets on the stand and really blows it out of the water, was just ill-advised. Is just, I can't think of a strong enough way to describe it. And she didn't have to do it. She could have said, sure, she sent all these nasty letters, and yeah, she didn't like her son-in-law. Maybe she even hated her son-in-law, but that doesn't make her a murderer, and look at the evidence to show. Instead, she embraces this picture of Donna that the evidence just throws out the window. And that took, so she took on a job she shouldn't have taken on, and she's bearing the fruits of it now. I just don't understand how what it is their view is. Once in a while, it's throwing Wendi under the bus. Then it's Charlie. Then it's upholding one or the other. It's unclear where they want to go and what they want to do with their cross.
Yeah, and I want to circle back to that, because watching it in the courtroom today, that's exactly what ran through my head. It was like Jackie was being almost like there was like a camaraderie between her and Wendi, and then at the end, she just turned on Wendi. It was very bizarre. It's very hard to follow, even inside the courtroom, particularly inside the courtroom, because also like our audio is a little difficult to hear in there, so it's not always abundantly clear. But we'll get to Wendi in a minute. Alicia Elliott here. Why did the defense, again, the funny spelling of that word defense, why did the defense paint Donna as this wonderful person when they had to know what Rob would say, especially if they deposed him beforehand? Doesn't make sense. Their defense looks disorganized. I mean, Dave Ehrenberg, you know, you're a prosecutor. This is the defense. You're salivating if this is happening in Palm Beach County. But what is real? And shout out to Abby. She helps me. By the way, CO, we got to Venmo her, because every day I do these lunch lives, and Abby's like, "What do you want for lunch?" and running up a big tab. So you better. And I don't know how to use Venmo because I'm an idiot. I'm like Jackie Fulford. Ehrenberg, do you know how to Venmo, Ehrenberg?
Of course.
Oh, well, you went to Harvard. What do you want?
Oh yeah. And I don't make my Venmos public like Matt Gaetz did. I don't know why people do that.
I don't either.
I don't know why people do that either. But Dave Ehrenberg, I'm trying to figure out, like, Jackie Fulford says something and you feel like you're going to end up at the AAA arena for a Miami Heat game, but suddenly you're at a soccer game in Fort Lauderdale. Like, none of what she begins to say takes you where you expect her to bring you to. Does that make sense? Why is that happening? Is that bad preparation?
I don't know. It's her style, perhaps. Or I don't know how experienced she is in this kind of case. She was a judge for a while. The long pauses she had. The professor brings up a good point. You're going to lose a jury. You have to have a cadence. That's something Georgia was so good at. And her, you know what I was thinking about during her pauses? I was thinking, I had the song, you know, "The Waiting is the Hardest Part" from Tom Petty, who may be her doppelganger.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I just think there's I just don't, you know, like, it's not like Donna had a lot of great choices up there because Tim Jansen was unavailable. The Miami lawyers don't work up there in Tallahassee. There aren't a lot of really good like lawyers who can take this case, and you know, and Jackie was there, and I don't know. It's just they need a local lawyer, and I think this is the one they could find who would be willing to take the case.
Tim, I'm not sure. Forgive me because I'm partly just delirious. But Debbie Martin here. What about what Wendi told Rob about not telling her parents about Jeff? I'm not sure that I caught that. Tim, do you know what this is?
Yeah, because he was saying that she has this new boyfriend. She was going to Gainesville, where he went to school or residency, and she sent pictures of him where Color Springs, and she goes, "Oh, I haven't heard him." She goes, "Yeah, don't tell my parents," because of the controlling nature of them. Realized that Donna would go crazy. During the cross-examination, you know, it was more like, it wasn't even cross. It was Jackie testifying. And I was wondering, well, why aren't they objecting? There's a fine line between her testifying. Well, now I know why Georgia let it go. They had Rob in the bullpen, and Rob was going to come in and dismantle every little silly thing that Jackie was trying to score points.
Yeah.
I don't know her defense. I doubt the defense knows their defense because it's scrambled. It's been undercut by her. At one point, she was implicating Donna in her cross-examination of Wendi. So I don't get it.
And Tim, I got some intel. Someone who spoke to Josh Zellman, and listen, I've said this every show. Josh Zellman seems like a stand-up good guy. I just can't get a read on Jackie Fulford, but Josh at least makes the effort to say hello and, you know, be amicable. But someone told me that after day one, he told somebody, "Yeah, it went fantastic today." And I can't exactly agree with him. But I mean, Tim, as a criminal defense attorney, even if you're having your worst day, do you tell people, "Yeah, it was okay. It was a good day"? Like, do you have to be like, you're never going to hear a fighter, a UFC fighter before a fight saying, "I'm going to lose the fight." Until they're knocked out cold, they're like, "Yeah, I've got a shot." I mean, is that the attitude you take as a criminal defense attorney?
Well, I mean, it depends who you're talking to. I would not
Yeah.
go talk to some stranger. Now, if Monica was on the case and how's it going? I'm like, well, not too bad. We haven't got a knockout punch yet. But to say that Friday was a good day for them, they're drinking the Kool-Aid already, and it's only the first day. And when you get in that trial, you can do that. You think you're making points when you realize that jury's already done. And I think Rob kind of ended it today. Their theory in their opening was completely destroyed by Rob.
Yeah. I want to come back to Joe on something different. Go ahead, Dave.
I think the reason why he said that was because they did get the shocking statement from Rivera that the lady who ordered the hit was not Donna, but was Wendi. And that is their defense, really, that throwing everyone under the bus. So I think that's why they thought it went swimmingly. We win.
Oh,
and they had the little chart too, the chart that he filled out.
And Dave, I mean, what does that do, in your opinion? Let's just digress for a moment here. What does that do for Wendy's future now that Luis Rivera invoked Wendy's name?
Well, I think I was watching, because I watch your show when I'm not on it. See, and I was watching, I think it was Tim.
I love you for that. By the way.
Right. And I love when you mention my name when I'm not on, because I hear that and I appreciate that. But I think Tim had said he didn't think there was someone. Maybe it wasn't Tim. It was someone said that wouldn't be a factor. Maybe it was someone else on a different show. I don't know. But I actually think it does foretell the future. I do think that if Georgia wasn't ready to charge Wendi next anyways, once she gets a conviction of Donna, how could she not, based on that testimony? How could she not? I think if she wasn't going to charge her, and I think she was, that I think cinches the deal.
Yeah, I mean that. I don't know if you're talking about Luis. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
I think John Singer. I think Singer. Said that. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if you add up Luis and you add up the things that Rob said today, I just don't see how you don't go after. If I'm Wendi right now, I'm on a bicycle pedaling as fast as I can, either up north or down south.
And by the way, you're right.
The devil's advocate here. Luis doesn't have any direct information of anything. He gets it through Sigfredo, who gets it through Katie. And so I don't know how much. I'd like to believe, Dave, that you're right, that it helps a lot, but I don't know how much he's really moves this ball.
Well, I could say this, and by the way, Tim, you're right. It was
John Singer.
John Singer with those dulcet tones, beautiful voice, brilliant guy. He's the one who said he didn't think it moves the needle. But I can tell you this: when you're state attorney, and I was one, if you're Jack Campbell, and that is now part of the narrative, it's out in the public. Oh my gosh! If you're like now deciding, well, do I or don't I? That will be a factor. So I agree with Joe that I don't think it matters in terms of evidence, but I just think that if you are undecided, if you think you may or may not have it, that pushes you to file.
Okay, there I defer to you. You have the expertise there.
Yeah, and Dave Ehrenberg, that's about the only place, Dave, with respect to Joe. She's a professor. No matter, even if you went to Harvard, you're still the student. You're not the professor. But Dave Ehrenberg, John Singer, if you did catch that show at the end, now Abby Crossing and I were saying, well, who are the interesting witnesses? And obviously these jailhouse informants could be super interesting. And it came up that apparently they have a script that, according to the government, Donna wrote in her own handwriting. They're going to have handwriting analysis on that. John Singer said, if that comes back and it matches Donna's handwriting, I mean, talk about game over. That's like really game over. I mean, your thoughts on that in terms of another nail in the coffin?
It's like the equivalent of the trip to Vietnam, the attempting to flee. Like, why are you writing a script for someone to lie for you? Because you're guilty. You want to talk about circumstantial evidence? Pretty damning. So she keeps being her own worst enemy. She's the one who tried to flee. She's the one on the call talking on a recorded line while her son had already hung up. And now she's apparently thinking she's so smart that she's writing a script for someone who befriended her in prison. This is what happens when you are full of hubris, when you do think that you are above the law and that you're better than everyone else. That's why she's taking the stand. And that's why Charlie took the stand. They really believe that these yokels in Tallahassee, they could pull one over on them, that they're so much smarter than they are. It's going to be a rude awakening for her.
Look at this. Carm figured out how to go incognito here as Watcher 101. She said the main reason I watch STS is Joel. Selfishly, I always say one of the reasons like I'll watch Dateline is it just makes me feel a little bit better about myself and who I am. But after watching his testimony, and I don't want to take any joy in other people's pain, but man, after learning about the Adelson family, I'm like, Carm and I are very normal in comparison. So I felt pretty good about Carm and I after that. Maui Swift here said, I thought Wendi would be a defense target. It was like they were all over the place. And I want to get back to that like in a proper manner. But Joe Patuto, one of the things that you couldn't really gauge if you weren't in the courtroom when Rob was out there, Harvey is he's a very tough guy to read. And I don't want to be disrespectful, but I don't know if it's his age. I don't know if it's just the way he is all the time, but he kind of looks a little maniacal. Like he's very like he just stares, right? But when Rob got there, it literally looked like he was throwing daggers with his eyes at Rob, like almost like if there wasn't that little stanchion that separates him, that Harvey would have made one last ditch effort to try to get to his son and like grab him by the shirt collar. There was a lot. The point I'm making is that there was a lot of tension in there between Harvey and Rob, and also Donna and Rob. That I couldn't make out as well because I'm seeing the back of Donna's head. But I guess my question to you, I felt very strongly like the jurors were picking up on that. Like there was a lot of this, like looking back like a tennis match, and you could feel the dysfunction of this family. So outside of the words that Rob said, what about this tension in the room that you could cut with a knife? I mean, how aware do you think jurors are of this?
I think they are. And I mean, sometimes the family members are not identified to the jury, but when you have reserved seats and there's only one person sitting there, and Donna has been looking back at him, I don't think it takes a rocket scientist for the jury to figure out that that's the husband and father. So then they're on high alert with regard to the interactions between the son on the stand. And from what we could tell watching, Rob tried very hard not to look at anybody. I mean, he looked so uncomfortable and so unhappy to be there. And that read so, with such genuine, grief, in fact. So I am sure, I mean, jurors are human, and that kind of human tragedy that's playing out right before you seems to me it has to have an impact on the edge. I mean, they're not going to find Donna guilty because the family is dysfunctional, but it adds context and color to what the dynamics are. So I think it matters. And I will add that I'm glad, because I am tired of Donna pretending she's crying out there and trying to play in the defense story that here she is, this very kind, loving person who the minute the divorce was over, that minute at which the judgment that they weren't going to be able to move the order was final, she switched on a dime and decided, now I love him again, which is, again, I think such a silly claim to make. And I'm really glad that the jury is paying attention to other dynamics out there.
Yeah, I agree with you. By the way, the COE is working like triple time, as is Space Coast, as is Steve Cohen, as are mods, as is Abby Crossing, as is Super Planner Girl, who are all helping us out, and many others. But the COE, if you missed it today, will put out some reels with Rob's greatest hits from today, as well as some of Wendy's, and that'll be posted under the video tab. Just keep checking the video tab because we're putting more and more videos in there. But Abby Crossing and I, who sat together in the last part of the day, Tim, she wants your thoughts here. She says, in her opinion, it's a good thing, and I agree, that Donna Adelson's meddling in Rob's love life, the whole marriage, not allowing that marriage to the Indian woman, was kept out. It kept the defense from claiming he had an axe to grind. So we didn't hear about that. And so Jackie couldn't go back and say he's just a, disgruntled son who's upset at his mother because his mother didn't love the woman that he was with.
Not only that, and that is a true point and a good point. Jackie, why would Jackie ask Wendi, you didn't even love the husband you married. You were thinking about not marrying him. You regretted it on your honeymoon. And then she goes, yeah, did you do it because of your mom? Yes. I mean, she brought it up that she didn't want to get married to Dan, and she did it partly because her mom wanted her to. Another part of showing control by the mother. Why would the defense bring that out?
Yeah.
How does that benefit them?
Yeah, it's crazy. Heidi Cock Northrup here. I'm a huge fan of Rob Adelson. I was estranged from my mother my entire adult life until the day she died. My heart broke for him. I hope this was therapeutic for Rob. Listen, I'm not here to be Gandhi, but if you have an issue with a family member, family is really all we have. So try to work it out if you can. And I know in some of these cases you just can't. Interestingly, whoever was sitting right next to me, very sweet guy. Someone suggested maybe it was Rob's rabbi, but what was so Tim called this a Shakespearean tragedy, and what's so tragic is Rob was essentially there just with whoever was to my left. And I'm not one of those reporters that's going to pry and try to get, like Rob needs his space, right? But whoever this guy is, he obviously traveled with him from New York and was a good enough friend or a rabbi or whoever he is. So just shout out to that person. He knows who he was because he was literally sitting right next to me. And we talked a little bit. I didn't realize it at the time, but they're good people in the world who are there to pick up others who are going through a really difficult time. But back to this woman's point, I do think it was very cathartic for Rob Adelson to finally get this stuff off his chest. And I would not be surprised, and he should not be embarrassed if he's sobbing in an Uber on the way back to the airport, because that had to be a heavy weight lifted off of him. And then, it wasn't just Harvey and him staring at each other. It was your own mother sitting there looking at you like she just wants nothing to do with you. And basically he wants nothing to do with her. But Dave, let's get into some of the particulars here. So Rob Adelson said, when asked about this, he said, I think my mom runs the show, and described her as controlling and Harvey as passive, more of a go with the flow kind of guy. So right away, I mean, he's just casting his parents as this domineering mother who has to run the show. And this comes on the heels of Donna literally picking out dates for Wendi on this dating app. So how does all this stuff it's like a Lego, like building Legos, right? One clicks into another, which clicks. I mean, the jurors right now have to be thinking, who is this mother? Like, who is Mommy Dearest?
Yeah. First off, thanks to Joan for the nice comments on the bottom, giving me some love. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. See, I noticed that.
Oh yeah. Look at this. So Jane, it's Jane. Get the name right, Dave. It's Jane. Don't be like
Wait.
Jane.
Well, no, Jane. Thank you, Jane. Very much appreciated. But there was a Joan earlier, and yes,
can't keep up.
Come on,
can't keep up.
So,
David's eye candy.
I like that. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So when it comes to Donna, it's not just that she was the one choosing Wendi's dates, creating her profile, and writing her legal brief. She actually said, remember, she is the law firm in South Florida. So she's engaged. I don't know, Tim and Joe, we report her for being engaged in the unlicensed practice of law. I mean, to think that, and in fact, there's one part that Wendi said, and it was really, really stood there. I think Georgia let it sit there, where she said, well, of course, I'm an adult. I can make that decision. There was something she responded to, right? And we're like, whoa, it's the first time she like pushes back, because it's clear that she had been coddled. Even Rob had said that, like, she's a damsel in distress. And it's so obvious here. I mean, when they tried to say, well, could it have been Harvey who wrote that email? No one in the courtroom believed that. They know it's Donna. Donna is the one who's pulling the strings. That's who she is. And there's an old joke this portrays, and this is something that maybe you and I could appreciate, Joel, because of our shared faith. But there's a joke that a child goes, gets a part in the school play. He comes back home and he says, Mom, I got a part in the school play. And the mom says, what part did you get? And the child says, I got the role of the Jewish husband. And the mother says, you go right back to that teacher and tell her you want a speaking role.
I think I've heard that, and I would have to agree with that. But someone in the chat here, to that exact point, said Carm was right. Number one, if you know Carm long enough, like I do, she's almost always. Carm's got some unbelievable instincts, but from day one, if you go back and watch the first show Carm ever did, she said Harvey is complicit in this. And I got to tell you, watching him, and by the way, when court ends at the end of the day, there's this silent language spoken between Harvey and Donna. They stop, they look at each other. I mean, if it wasn't such a sick and demented and depraved situation that we're in, it would be sweet, because this is a couple that's been married 50 plus years. But I almost feel like they're speaking in coach. Like they kind of whisper nothing at each other. But Joe Patuto, there's no way, after I've sat in court, just as an observer of human beings, having a father that was a psychiatrist and a mother who's a social worker, there is zero, in my opinion, there might not be the evidence, but there is zero way that Harvey did not know what was going on. So what does that do for this case now? Does it do anything? Does it change dynamics? Because I think Georgia and Sarah obviously are seeing the same thing here.
This case meaning the prosecution against Donna, or this case meaning what comes after the prosecution?
I think afterwards. Like, is this going to impact a potential Harvey indictment? Because I don't know that there's the evidence, but I mean, there's definitely watching it in person. You understand that Harvey is a major player in this family.
Yeah, and I still don't. There wasn't very much today that pointed towards Harvey independently or even in combination. I mean, every time they talked about the Donna and Harvey emails, it was very clear they were all coming from Donna. So I'm not so sure that anything happened today that implicates Harvey. And even with Wendi, I thought there was evidence today that helps her. There's a lot of evidence in there about her doing what her mother wanted. The last run of emails that she had where she said maybe it would be better to stay because of the kids, and the dismissal with prejudice that she stipulated to and then didn't tell her mother about, clearly because she didn't want her mother pushing her again. So I don't know that anything today, in fact, I would say I didn't see anything today that moves a prosecution as Harvey more likely. And I saw a couple of things today that the state would have to then contend with if they end up trying to prosecute Wendi. They'd certainly have to reconfigure how they're pointing at, who did what and who was complicit. Because right now, and I understand it, right now the laser focus is on Donna, and they're going to build the blocks around to get to Donna. So, but they'd have to reconfigure the chairs on the ship a little to get to Wendi. And I don't think today helped with Harvey.
Yeah. I said this in the chat. I'll say it again. When you're in the courtroom, like Jackie has such a weird delivery. Like, I've had too many of these days, but when you have like an awful day and then you've got to call customer service.
Well, the girls love Dave.
Look at this, superhero.
But Dave
Eye candy and superhero. What more do you want?
And that's that. That's a big
Yeah,
contributor there. That's a
yeah,
big
and
donor.
I'm starting to think that this could be Dave's wife. I don't know. I'll have to double check. But
Ellie, thank you. You're awesome. But the last person went out of her way to say how much she prefers Tim. So just to let you know.
oh, look at this. Thankful for our commentary today. Jackie Fulford's one of those people, like I have these days where I'll go to pick up one of my now 97 prescriptions at CVS because I'm at that age, and
Call
like
me,
I won't
missing
get
people.
one.
Call me.
Yeah,
I'll
and
give you
then,
the number. I'll give you the number.
Yeah, call Tim. He'll put his number up. And you go there and like they say, well, you got to call your healthcare, your insurance, and then you call your insurance company. And like in the meanwhile, your dog is vomiting on your lap as you're having a horrible day. And then you get that person who answers the customer service and like, hi, Mr. Waldman, how can I help you? And it's like that fake, like just fake want to be sweet, and that is what Jackie Fulford reminds me of. That's how every time she opens her mouth, it's like this feigned kindness and this weird cadence that comes out of her, and it drives me a little crazy. I know I went off on a little tangent there, but it drives me a little crazy. Dave Ehrenberg, to you. Charlie, Rob says, and you brought this up earlier, always craved attention. This is what Rob said. Rob says this about his brother Charlie. And then he said Wendi leaned on her family when the marriage collapsed. And he describes her as a damsel in distress. Now, I believe, this is again my opinion, that she was the catalyst. I don't know if she carried it out or what she knew, but I think she nudged her mother along here. But this is a pretty big admission in a odd way from Rob that she was this damsel in distress, poking her mother, saying, we got to get rid of Dan. I don't like this guy. He's not a good husband for me. Does this change the calculus for Wendi moving forward?
Yeah, I think everything that I've heard in this trial, although not everything points to Wendi in the trial, but there are a lot of things that I wasn't aware of from before that does point to Wendi. There's another thing that came up, and I'm going to have to think about it. I'll have to bring it up. But there was another point. I wrote some stuff down that I was surprised about Wendi saying something or doing something that pointed at her. I mean, we all know about her showing up on Trescott Drive and never inquiring about the children who were in Dan's custody while there were police cars outside his house. There's enough there. There's still that text message that I still think is really powerful that didn't get referred to today, where she out of the blue messaged Charlie, like, I'll never forget what you've done for me. And it was apparently like the day of that the hit was ordered. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's enough there if they wanted to go after her. And who knows what they got from Donna's phone when they got her on the jetway. I did think it's interesting. Were you surprised? Maybe throw it back to you. I did think it's interesting that she said she hadn't spoken to her mother since November 2023, which is when she got arrested. You know, if you're implicated in this, if you're Wendi, you must have a lot of faith in your mom for not flipping on you if you're not going to at least befriend her or touch base with her while she's sitting in a prison cell, knowing that she has damning information on you. So it's interesting that she hasn't spoken to her mother since then.
And I'm so glad you brought that up. And by the way, one of the things they did discuss was Wendy's 18-minute phone call with Charlie the morning of the murders. And she said she's talking to him about the TV set, which a lot of people think is code. But yeah, I mean, Dave, that's a great point. That came up today. Wendi said she had, and that was like a jaw dropper for me. Joe Patuto, I'll let you take this. I mean, she said that she literally has not spoken to Donna Adelson, her own mother. So this is essentially another estranged child, by de facto, since her arrest, which is November 13th, 2023. I don't know how much we can believe of these people. Thanks. Shout out to Ida Shaw, JD. Pro Joe, my favorite girl power. There you go.
And look at that, Dave. That's $49.99.
Wow.
I'm 40 past you.
You have a lot of generous viewers there, Joel. Really,
we really do. I mean, that's why I say best guest, better community.
I've got no money. I got no one paying money.
Ida Shaw. I think she's going to say that John Lauro advised her not to talk to Donna.
Yeah.
That's what she said prior
Real
to.
quick, Joe, not to cut you off, but I have to, because Wendi came in a little early, which she never does. And she sat and she kind of grabbed her dad's wrist in sort of a loving way. And John Lauro bounced in there and said, go to the other side.
Yeah.
So she is being watched carefully by him.
Well, you remember she said when Donna wanted assistance about how to get the documents in order, and she wanted her to show her where everything was when they were going to flee to Vietnam, and she got that email from Wendi saying, my lawyer said not to talk to you. And I do think it makes sense for him to say to her, don't talk to somebody who may be considered your co-conspirator. Stay away from it. Now, Donna, I don't think is going to understand that, because she didn't understand it on the day she was talking about fleeing. She was mad as hell. But I think it's good advice from her lawyer.
Tim Jansen, I'm going to put this comment up, and I just want everyone to sort of absorb this comment, because it's such a simple, quick little comment. But look at this. Brielle, Rob said no one was concerned about who killed Dan. And I'll take it a step further. Donna, he says, calls him. It doesn't call him. He had to wait till his anniversary, which is 2 days after the murder. And he brings it up. And Donna says something along the lines of, I just want to let you know that Danny had been shot, but didn't make it. Boom. I mean, Tim, how can any jury alive not believe that she had something to do with this if she's just avoiding it and is basically just casting it aside like it's like he stubbed his toe or something?
It's like common sense, people, even if you didn't like them, you like, who killed him? It's terrible. Is that person going to kill us? Is there something against the family? But no, they weren't concerned, because I know who did it. It's not my deal. They're moving on like they want to. It was very telling that he wanted to know, and her response was, it's not my concern. Change the subject. Don't talk to the police. But what I thought was interesting, and I would have hoped that Georgia missed it, but she did great, but she just missed it, where she said that her mom was upset that she didn't support Charlie in the trial. I would have wished Georgia would have said, well, you testified truthfully, right, at the trial? Yes. So why was your mom disappointed in you? Did she want you to lie? But
wow, that's good. That is good.
And Tim put
and I just got $50.
Voice.
Thank you, Jerry.
Oh, you got a penny more than I did.
I didn't know that 50 was an option. I see all these $49.99. I didn't know you can go for the big round number. By the way, Joel, I remembered the point I was about Wendi that surprised me today. If I could add that,
please.
I didn't realize until Wendi testified that she, not her mother, came up with the term gibbers. She said on the stand that she came up with gibbers. And now you contrast that to her earlier testimony, one of the earlier trials, where she said, "Oh, I don't know how to spell that. That's something like I thought, right? I don't know how to spell it." Meanwhile, it's in her phone. That's Dan's picture comes up on the phone. It's gibbers. That's the name she has from. So she has lied on the stand. Now, is that going to cook her goose? I don't know, but that's just one of things. She came up with gibbers, not her mom. And then she said, I don't even know how to spell it. It's just some silly name. Oh, it's cute. It's silly. Oh, okay. Didn't sound silly.
Yeah. I got to get more clarification. So it was taken off. They had like a Puss in Boots children's book with a Hebrew
Is that a
cover.
thing? Jewish people don't wear boots?
But I don't know what Abby's going to have to explain this to me tomorrow when I see it. But there was something anti-Semitic in the name gibbers, which is coming from a Jewish family. So that's a little concerning, because there's plenty of anti-Semitism without the Jews adding to it. But it had to do something with Puss in Boots, the book. So I'll get a little more of a clarification from Abby crossing on that.
Joe, I think it's part of their disdain they have for North Florida. It's that here's this Jewish guy who wants to live in North Florida with all the the rednecks. This is what's going in their mind. And so the Jewish guy with the boots, gibbers. That's what it is. And And
by the way, Dave, I'm not going to get into politics here, but there was a guy who famously called some countries shitholes. And today, sorry to use that word, in court, it was revealed that Donna Adelson referred to Tallahassee as a shithole. And when that came up, sorry for my language, Carm. And when that came up, the jurors, man, they just leaned for what'd she say? What'd she
They
say
don't
about
like
where
that.
we live?
They don't like that.
Tim Jansen. Yeah, go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
There's so many reasons why she pissed off the jurors. That is one of them. And she and Wendi have disdain for Tallahassee. You can tell, even though Wendi tried to talk around it. So there was that. There was also, and this is something that I'd love to get from Tim and Joe, the whole thing about trying to dress up get their children baptized and turn them into Christian. To me, it sounds like, if I were of a Christian faith, I would think it sounds like they're mocking their faith. Like, oh, we're going to dress them up and make them look like they're Christians. Yeah. Even I would be offended, and I don't know, but that's why I'd like to defer to our.
Let me jump in there for one quick second, because I was very closely watching the jury when that happened. For those who do not know, at one point, Donna Adelson had the brilliant idea of dressing her own Jewish grandchildren in Hitler Youth uniforms and getting them baptized, which is something Carmela, my mother, had to do when she was hidden in World War II, and learn all her prayers. Now, this is a very smart jury, and we've talked about this. Tallahassee is a very, educated population. And I was looking at the jurors. There's one guy on there, and I don't want to stereotype, but I am. I mean, one guy who I think might be a Jewish guy, but the rest are not. And when they heard this about a Jewish grandmother wanting to baptize their grandchildren, Tim, again, that was a moment where they all leaned forward, and then they're doing this like look over to Donna, like, who is this psychopath? Like, I don't know how to sugarcoat that and make it seem any less worse for her, but that is the impression that these jurors are giving when they're hearing this stuff.
Let me respond to Rob. I mean, baptism is a sacrament. And so what she's doing is really making fun of another faith. And I don't think you have to be Catholic or Christian or Jewish to be very offended by someone who's doing things that really ridicule or undermine someone's faith. I think it's going to offend everybody. I mean, the idea of the Nazi uniforms, independent of the fact that they're Nazi uniforms, but doing that to someone who is faithful within a Jewish religion should offend anybody. It doesn't matter whether you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, or an atheist. It's an offensive thing to do.
Yeah,
I think that's why Joe's the professor. It's a sacrament. I agree with you. I think it cuts both ways. I think if you are not Jewish, you're offended, and if you are Jewish, you are. Look at this. I get $2, but this is worth all $2 from Elijah. Go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say the same thing. I think Catholics and Christians will be equally offended that they were going to do this by saying, "Oh, it's terrible to do this for your child."
Right.
And those people who are Catholic or Christians were like, "Why are you bringing us into this fight? You have your religion, we have our religion." They pissed off both.
Yeah.
Right?
Now this I must have missed by the queen of all buns, Ned Smith. And look, she's got a bun as in her emoji, or a tornado.
Oh yeah, this is a good point. This was a good point.
Yeah, he said
So
this.
yes. Well, Joe, let me go to you here. What do you make of Rob saying Donna told him Dan had been killed by someone coming to the front door and shooting Dan? This is obviously back before this crime was solved.
Yeah, and the rest of that was she told him that they said, "Are you Dan Markel?" and then shot him. And he said his first thought was, how could she know that? How could she know what the conversation was, at the time of the killing? And then, of course, he said, the killing was a different way, but it's clearly she has to make that up, because no one could know that. That couldn't have been reported by anyone. The only ones who could have said it are the two killers, or one killer, because Luis was in the car, and Dan Martel, and he's dead.
Maybe when Harvey's glaring, because every show I say that I'm convinced this guy knew exactly what was going on, and he sees me in court every day. Maybe that's why. But Gia and TJ's mom, can Wendy's immunity? Tim, talk to us about this. So she's got immunity. What can break that immunity, if anything?
She can be prosecuted for perjury. Perjury is exempt. She has to tell the truth. And I did some research on this early on a capital offense. I think if she commits perjury in a capital offense, she can face up to 15 years in prison.
That's interesting. Dave Arenberg, to you, and Dave, I know you're gonna have to go in a second, so you don't have to be polite. You can just hang up on us in a second. But listen, when you wear lapel pins, you're important, and you've got things in places to go and be. But
This is my new Dave Arenberg law pin. I was wearing it today,
Oh.
so a little marketing. If I was a better marketer, I'd wear something bigger so you could see it on TV.
You know what, Arenberg? I got to tell you, when I see you at midnight with Laura Coates on CNN, and then I see you at like 5 a.m. on whatever Fox News, how many hours a night do you sleep?
I don't sleep enough. I don't do a lot of Fox News. I'd love to get invited on more. Tomorrow morning, Joe, though, we're going to talk about Epstein.
Oh.
But my passion is true crime. That's why what the shows I choose to watch are STS. And so that's why I'm a fan personally of Joe and Tim. I can see why everyone prefers them to me.
I mean, do you sleep 5 hours a night? Oh, I'm curious. I'm very curious about this.
It depends. It depends. I need more than 5 hours. I can, like tonight, I'll sleep 5 hours and I'll pay for it for the rest of the week.
Yeah, interesting. By the way, when I'm done with this trial, it'll take me 5.5 months to recover, but I'm not complaining about it. Already $5 here. Thank you. So, by the way, let me say on a very serious note, I met Leonard, who is a retired Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Super nice guy. Came up to me. I met Harold, anything but dull. He brought a book. He wanted me. There's some Jimmy McNutty flew in from LA. Like, we really do have the greatest community. And for those, I know there's a lot of new people in here. We do I feel like I'm on drugs right now, but I'm not, but I feel like it from the adrenaline of the trial. But we do a normal show, relatively normal show, Monday through Thursday, 7:00. We do a panel every night. And then Fridays we do an afternoon show. And then we're all over breaking news during the week whenever anything happens. So, please hit that like button, please subscribe, and please check us out, not just during trials, but during other times. But Artie here, wonder what best guests think about how Wendi said she was told in the car when we saw her fake tears. Tim Jansen, another thing here. I mean, we're learning more information. Wendi gave up the goods on what Craig Isom was saying, and apparently it does not gel with exactly the way she was emoting inside that interview room. I mean, does all this stuff, I mean, there's almost too much to keep track of right now, but is Georgia keeping a running list? Is this going to come back to bite her in the behind?
It is. And I do want to confess now, I don't think you saw it, Joel, but I was actually cooking on your show today. In between
I heard
the
about
break,
that.
I
That was
was
amazing.
making homemade garlic bread for our supper club that I'm going to miss tonight, Italian theme. So I was trying to show people cooking, which I wish I could do, cook and talk at the same time. But
yeah, we'll have to do that. We'll have to figure out a way to do that. But yeah, but I heard that's awesome.
Yeah. But of course, they're keeping track of everything she says. It's all recorded. There's transcripts. There's people upstairs watching and listening to everything that's being said. They got a couple lawyers doing research. And so, yeah, everything in this courtroom that's going on is being monitored.
Mary Coppola, Francis Ford Coppola. Joel, I'm curious if you noticed the jurors when Jackie Fulford refers to him as Danny. Well, she was really doing it heavily during opening statements, and I don't think the jurors really had a sense for who he was at that point. But I'm with you; it sends me completely over the edge, and I'm really hoping to see Phil tonight. We just keep missing each other like ships in the night, but we're staying at the same place, and he's had a lot of things at night, and I have. But I hope I can connect with him because Tim said that he should be going to his attorney who should go to Georgia, and Georgia should tell the judge you should not be right, Tim? Explain that. You should not be referring to people by name.
And I know Dave knows this. You're not allowed to use the first name in a trial. Usually the judge will get on you. Judge Hankinson would have blistered them. And I don't know why Georgia didn't stop it, because it's demeaning to the family. It's demeaning to Professor Markel to call him Danny. And she admitted she doesn't even know him. So why would she do that? She's trying to curry favor to the jury, and that should be impermissible.
Joe Patuto from Sarah S here, because you are logical and pay attention and I don't. But did Rob mean the last time Did Rob explain, from what I understood, when he was 18 and went away, I guess, to college is really when he sort of separated from the family. Did I get that correct? Or did you
No, I
follow
don't
the
think so.
origin story?
He said he came back in the summers and was with them in the summers, was with them in holidays and things. So I thought his description of his interaction with the family during his college days reflected what a lot of families would be like. And even Jackie tried to go after him on the fact that, how often did you see them once you were married? And he said, then we had little kids. We came down for Thanksgiving. It sounded as though he got down there maybe once more a year. He talked to them on the phone every other week. I don't know that that's so unusual in families where there's a fair amount of distance between the parents and the married children, particularly with small kids. So I was actually surprised that he had as much contact with them, because my picture always was that after that marriage they became very distant, and at least the interaction seemed to me to be within the realm of what you would expect families that don't live near each other might do.
Harold, anything but dull. By the way, Harold, I know I can share this. It's always funny when you meet someone in person. Can you put the Harold anything but dull comment back up, COE, please, for 1 second? He's like a marathoner. He's very lean, which I'm jealous of. And he was going to get his steps in. Very interesting guy. Told me he was not an attorney, but a paralegal for years. But he said, Dave Ehrenberg, I'll have you address this. It seemed like until the end that Jackie was defending Wendi. And I got that same impression, Harold. When she was crossing Wendi, it seemed like she was there almost as a maternal figure. And then at the very end, she kind of turned on Wendi and was like, you were the one that hated Dan, not your mother, but you're the one that hated. Very odd. I couldn't place my finger on it. And that's, Dave, why I go back to this customer service. I always argue with those people, and it's like they're super friendly at the beginning, but then I tell them that the healthcare system sucks, and then they're like, you suck, and then we start fighting. And that's kind of what it felt like with Jackie Fulford.
Well, as my colleagues would know, when you are a lawyer in a big trial, you have to have a theory of the case, or in any trial, really. What's your theory of the case? And everything you say and do is pretty much geared towards that theory. Here, Jackie is all over the place. And I call her Jackie because she's calling Danny. So Jackie's all over the place. And so some parts she's like a maternal figure to Wendi, realizing that Wendi and Donna, their dyes are cast the same. I mean, I really think if you destroy Wendi, it's going to rub off on Donna. Donna's going down too. And then she went after Wendi. So first she was befriending Wendi, then went after Wendi. They are so discombobulated. And that was reflected in their opening argument, where they really didn't have a theory of the case other than perhaps we're just going to put the prosecution to the test. They got to meet their burden. I don't think it's going well for them.
Yeah, I agree. Dave Ehrenberg, even though you and I are contemporaries, I actually have a couple of years on you, but you were a state attorney, and I was raised to be very respectful. So not that I'm not of Joe, and I have to be more respectful of Joe. She's a elder, she's a woman, she's a professor. But Dave Ehrenberg, because you wear the lapel pin, I think I have to cut you loose. I don't want you to go, but should I let you go?
I need to go, but this is great. I got to spend the first full hour with you, but now this is what you call prime time. This is where the stars shine, and that's why we need Joe and Tim.
Dave, you're the best, man. I'll text you later on. Now, I always feel like you're like this, like this. I get rid of the politician. I can have fun. All right. I'll see you later, Dave.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right. We'll just go a few more minutes. Joe and Tim are the goats, and we'll get some questions in here. By the way, I saw someone earlier. Thank you, Holly Jackson. But I saw someone earlier asking, what time do you have to get there? I think today was like the crush because of obviously Wendi, and I don't know that people expected Rob. Tomorrow, we're probably going to see Junam Chinda and Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was in the courthouse. I didn't see Ryan, but he was in the courthouse today. And I always say that I like Ryan because I like Ryan. But I think you shouldn't have a problem coming in on Wednesday morning. I would get there no later than 8:30. For Tim, who looks just like my father from Luan Pafford. And that's what's his name? That's a tennis player. Why am I blanking? I'm getting early onset.
Roger Federer?
Yeah, it's Federer. It looks like Federer, unless that's Luan Pafford, but I don't think it is. For Tim, who looks just like my father, which makes me wonder why my dad what my daddy was doing when he was. Oh, Tim, this is a question about paternity. Tim, what were you doing on the road? I don't know what's going on here, but that question just took. That's like a Jackie Fulford response.
Cross-examination, yeah. How she ends her
start
cross-examination.
Yeah, she's gonna come up to me tomorrow and be like, "I hate you." Buy a scotch for you and Phil when you have a
She won't talk
chat.
to you.
Please let him know we care here. Thank you. I will do that. And this is from Lemon Curd Llama 51.
Oh, God, it went up $1.
Uh-oh,
Tim,
51.
it's like this is like now it's like an auction now.
Thank you, Penny.
Tim, you're very handsome.
I feel better now.
Too bad Aaronberg just left. But
Yeah.
Joe Patuto, question for you. Rob also testified that Donna, and I quote here, hated Dan after Wendi moved out. That's quite a shift, because at the beginning he said that she seemed to like him, but then used the word hate. And that's a very powerful word. How powerful does that play on the jurors, Joe Patuto?
It's very powerful. And what it does is it mutes what Wendy's testimony was and the points that Jackie Fulford was trying to make with Wendi. It turned it right upside down. And not only did it turn it right upside down, but Rob was much more credible than Wendi was on the stand. So it turned it upside down by someone who was much more credible when he said it.
Tim Jansen, I mean, a couple other things that let me look at this question here. Did the defense open the door to mentioning why Rob doesn't see his family? Because she asked how much contact he had with them. I mean, could they have asked? I mean, they missed the boat now because he's gone. I guess they could recall him, but Tim, I think they just wanted to leave bad enough alone instead of well enough alone. I think it was bad for the defense, and they just wanted him off the stand. Probably
they did, and I think the state feels very confident in their case at this point. And after Rob's testimony, I think they feel really good about it. I think they know what they got coming. That's going to, and they haven't really seen any defense that makes them worried. You saw that Georgia wasn't objecting, even though probably could have objected numerous times about the form of the question, and that Jackie was actually testifying. I think they feel really confident. I thought Sarah Catherine did a great job with Rob, and I knew she would. And Rob, stole the show. To me, Rob stole the show today.
I mean, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Tim, but it's so weird. I was going to say to Joe, like, it's almost like Wendi didn't even testify today. Like, no one even is talking about it. But one of the other things, Joe, that Rob brought up or was asked about was Harvey's now infamous 70th birthday with, him just, he talked about how it wasn't abnormal for them to chip in like a third, whatever, for a big birthday gift. But all that he said, and I quote here, all Harvey wants, all he wanted were his children there. I forget if Wendi said that or if Rob said that, because it all meshes together. But essentially, that's another code there for this murder. Right. And that was the gift. That was his gift. So when Rob said that all he wanted were the children there, are the jurors picking up on that, do you think?
I don't know that they'll pick up on yet, because what we know is in the other trials, a lot was made out of the gift that they were giving Harvey for his 70th birthday. And what Rob said was, if there was a big gift that was going to be given anyone, Donna usually did it, and that Harvey didn't want a gift anyway. So all that talk about the big gift, and was it paella? Remember, there was a joke about, was paella the gift? Rob made nonsense of, but there's nothing in this trial that relates to it yet. So then it may not be now, because he made clear that there was no gift, and he's so credible. I mean, if you've got two witnesses saying different things and one of them is so credible, that's the way you're going to go.
Yeah, and he also said the party wasn't a surprise, which is a good call from Diane Matier here. But Tim, someone else pointed out that Wendi contradicted herself when it came to Tallahassee. She said, on the one hand, she didn't feel safe, but then texted that she was so happy to get out. So like she's got these opposing sort of views on Tallahassee, and almost across the board, the Adelsons, everything they think of Tallahassee is negative. And you've lived here for close to 40 years. How does that, I guess, bias or prejudice a jury pool that's sitting here and deciding her fate, or
Well,
her mother's fate?
they're not going to give her any benefit of the doubt. They're not going to think these are just nice people and this tragedy happened to this person. They're going to put it all together and realize this was a terrible thing that happened to this person. They didn't like him. They hated him. They didn't want to be here. They hated it here. All the evidence points and shows that they hated him, and they're trying to lie to us, say they liked him and all this. And when they put it all together, they're going to say there's no reasonable doubt here. There's no doubt that she was involved.
Yeah. So we'll slowly start to wrap this up now. Again, I cannot thank Tim or Joe enough. COE hit me up today. It's like, we got to get them something very nice, which we will. This work will not go unnoticed. And huge thanks, obviously, to everyone else, Space Coast, COE, Steve Cohen, the mods, but also a bigger thank you to everyone who's coming up and saying hello, which are a lot of you, and all of you guys tuning in for this trial, which is definitely historic in terms of the chronology of this particular story. There's no doubt about that. My the thing that I get out of it is I get to see the Markels in real time getting justice, which I think is going to come their way very soon, even though it's under difficult circumstances. And they go in there like real civil. I mean, they're so juxtaposed to the Adelson disaster. The Markels are a dignified, just respectable family that's in there together, side by side, and helping each other get through these horrific times. So Tim, Abby Crossing and I were talking about this. I mean, this was kind of a giant day. I mean, we had Wendi, we had Rob. I suppose Charlie is left. In terms of witnesses outside of Charlie, I think these jailhouse informers, to use Joe's word, are really interesting. How do you see the future of this trial in terms of witnesses? Who are you looking forward to seeing?
Well, Lacasse is going to be a big witness, very big witness. Ryan's going to come on and testify, and then the bump, and then Pat Sanford. You got a lot of key witnesses that are going to put this. They're going to fill in the pieces of this puzzle very nicely. But I think Lacasse is going to be important. It's going to show some key pieces. But the inmates, I mean, that's devastating information if they can prove the handwriting. I'd like to know how that. I'm curious to know how the girl got the written transcript. Was it given to her in prison? Was it given to her when she got out? Who gave it to her? That's going to be key to me.
By the way, I'm going to make a bold prediction. Ryan Fitzpatrick could be one of the more interesting witnesses because he gives 0 ducks, which are, what that rhymes with. And he's fed up, from what I hear, having to come up here and deal with his family. And so he could be interesting on the stand. So keep an eye out. And you know how LL Cool J, ladies love Cool J, and ladies love Aaron Berg and Tim. Well, ladies love Ryan Fitzpatrick. So he could be a sleeper on the stand there. Joel, please read questions on the screen. Like you mean not in the chat, but actually like we're like this. Okay. Why would Wendi take an immunity plea and not just plead the 5th? Joe Patuto, this is you right away. Why would Wendi take? Can you go back to that, COE? Why would Wendi take an immunity plea and not just plead the 5th at all these trials? What is the benefit to her?
She has no choice. She's got a 5th Amendment privilege, and that means she can't be forced to testify and say anything that would incriminate her, and the state can't use anything that might come from it. But once she gets immunity, anything she stays on the stand can't incriminate her because the state can't use it. She has no choice then but to testify. It's out of her hands.
Joe Patuto, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. I mean, give me 2 witnesses. You can go to 3 if you want, that you're still looking forward to. But we had Rob and Wendi today. Who are you anticipating?
Well, the one I was anticipating the most has testified now, and that's Rob.
Okay.
I think Sarah Bernhardt, is that her name? Is it Sarah? I keep thinking of the
It's
British
Trina.
actress.
No, there's
I knew I was going to do it
Trina
wrong.
Trina.
Yeah.
Trina Bernhardt.
I'm
Patricia
interested in
Bird.
her.
Uh-huh.
And probably Pat Sanford, because he's the one. There were a lot of pretrial motions about what he'd be able to testify to this time around. And the one piece of evidence I am sure that the defense is still going to fight like crazy about is the information that Donna and Harvey, the night of the murder, were on their way to Tallahassee, and they seem to have, and they stopped at Charlie's house.
To drop
And
the
the
money
defense,
off.
and the defense, to drop the money off. And the defense says, no, they didn't. And I think there's going to be a fight over that. In fact, there were a couple of questions of Isom the first day about, did you check construction? Did you check, there was something else besides this construction on the road. Oh, the easy pass, or whatever you call the sun pass. And I thought those questions were trying to get some sort of information that they could use about that trip. So I'm interested in what happens with Sanford, because I think he's the witness that will be testifying to that. And then Bernhardt would be my 2. There are others that interest me, but I've heard them before. And so I'll go with Bernhardt as the new one.
There you go. Sandy here, TCF from Canada. You see the maple leaf there. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. May Danny's memory forever be a blessing to his beloved loved ones from Canada. And that is, of course, where Danny Markel is from. Don't forget, Wendi is still under a subpoena. She had the defense subpoena quashed.
Excuse me, let me add Donna. If Donna gets on the stand, I would be very interested in that. I forgot about Donna.
I totally forgot. I completely
forgot on the stand.
Wait, who's Donna Adelson? I totally forgot. I don't know.
Who's going to get on the stand?
Tim, wait, what did you say? I was going to ask you, is she going to take the stand?
Donna's going to, of course she's going to testify.
Oh, and when are they saving her for? Tim?
She'll probably be last. They'll put her and put somebody else after her in case she screws up.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's going to testify.
By the way, this is a good question. Wesley John Holmes, my friend in Tokyo via Australia. Why is Ryan Fitzpatrick needed? Why is Junam Chinda needed, Joe Patuto?
Money, the stapled money.
June can talk about the stapled money, can't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know
she
about
saw it.
Ryan. I defer to Tim.
He saw the stapled money too.
Okay.
All right. Well, Wesley John Holmes, there you go. I don't think there's any COE. Do we have any final questions? I mean, it's all about what you see on the screen here. Justice for Dan Markel. Tim Jansen, my final question to you is when do I don't know if we should say this out loud because my kids might be watching. If the answer is not what they want, they could have a complete meltdown. But how long is this trial going to last, Tim Jansen?
Well, one of the lawyers in the case said 3 weeks. So but that same lawyer thought the case went really good Friday. So.
I mean, I just can't. Joe Patuto, can you see this going 3 weeks? I mean, we've gotten through some big witnesses. I mean, it's definitely going through this whole week, and it's going into next week. I cannot see it going into the following week. Can you, Joe?
Well, I don't know what the defense is going to do. So it's a little hard to predict. And the defense, not only do I not know who they're going to call, but they can be pretty slow doing what they're doing, and that can add time. So I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't put money down either way.
I will if I can get back to it. Shout out to Black Widow having
yeah, you got Chris
hello.
Corbett's going to do the phone, and that's slow and painstaking.
Yeah, that's what. So Tim, do we know who's up tomorrow? Do we have any idea?
I think Lacasse, Fitzpatrick, Achende, and maybe Pat Sanford.
Yeah. And I
Okay,
guess
so
I meant Corbett, not Sanford, because Corbett will do the phones and the triangulation. Yeah, so I meant him. Getting the investigators confused.
Tim, JMS, final question. They want to know, are they ahead of schedule? Abby says they're moving so fast. I mean, Julie said 10 witnesses. I thought it was 11, but obviously Julie knows way better than I do. But is this a quick clip, Tim? 10 witnesses in 2 days? Seems like a lot.
Well, that does seem like a lot. But the judge said today you're going to have your AM witnesses and PM. So I don't know how they're moving. And defense says they're gonna present a case, and we don't know if that's true. There's the picture. There's your
Look at
friend,
that.
Carrie Zimmerman.
By the way, let me show you this picture. There's a lot going on here. You've got Harvey looks upset, looks angry. This is how he's looked the whole time. The woman over Harvey's left shoulder, that is Georgia Kappelman's mother.
It is.
Yeah. And the woman in the pink is a former Olympic gymnast who's also kind of a legend in the advertising world. But that is Georgia Kappelman's mother. And I got to tell you, this is when Rob was testifying. Joe Patuto, if looks could kill, what do you make of this, Joe Patuto? This is not a look that a nice Jewish father should be throwing at his Jewish son here, or Catholic son, or Muslim son, or any other son. What's going on here?
Well, I don't know. I'm not good at facial stuff, because he looks to me as though he's intently trying to follow and not necessarily shooting daggers at anybody. So, but I'll defer to you. And if it is when Rob was testifying and you're right that he's shooting daggers, you know what he's trying to do. He'd like to cut the testimony off before it gets going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, he failed at that, and I have a feeling Harvey might be like putting that dental drill into his kneecap tonight at the way things went. But that is George's beautiful mother, and she is George's biggest fan. However, there's a caveat. She came up to me. That's a flattering photo. George's Tim, I don't know if you know this. George's mother came up to me today and whispered that she watches our show and loves it, and she watched it last night, and I was really, really moved by that, because it's Georgia Kappelman's mom. So,
that's nice.
I was excited by that. These are pictures of Wendi today. I don't know if we want to keep going here or just say goodbye. I think we want to say goodbye. Wendi, if I'm Wendi Adelson, I took that photo.
You did?
I took that picture. Yeah, I sure did. If I'm Wendi Adelson, I'm not sleeping very well. Like, I didn't sleep well last night because I was excited for today. But Wendy's not going to sleep well for a whole different set of reasons. But here we go. One more. Thanks to everyone. All of you are so appreciated. Love having Tim and the professor, Joe, taking us through the trial, answering questions. You guys are awesome. They really are. I cannot say it enough or say it again, but I will say it again. Huge thanks to the professor, Joe Patuto. That is not a green screen. That is her actual dining area at her home in the Garden State. If you look out the window, you know why they call it the Garden State.
That's green, right.
And it's beautiful. And Tim Jansen, amazing people who are helping us out in amazing ways. We love you all. Justice for Dan Markel. We're live in Tallahassee. We'll be back tomorrow, gavel to gavel coverage of Donna Adelson versus the state of Florida. Until tomorrow, have a great night. Carm's going to call me now and tell me to, like, I don't know, take a downer or something and relax. But there's a lot of adrenaline in court. So have a great night, everybody.